takes, a couple of hours before, we always have to meet up and go through things like this, just to make sure that we're getting the value that we want and then getting the value that the listeners want, and we're producing a good show squeezed into sort of around an hour, which is quite a difficult task sometimes, isn't it?
It's a difficult task, but I just want to add to that something that's massively changed for us as we've grown on this journey is bringing intuition into it. So when we first started, my God, we used to spend days and days and days planning and thinking and researching, but now we've got to a point 7 months in where we trust our own intellect and the knowledge we've picked up. So we can have a chat and we can have all this, but actually we can put that down and still create a really, really quality podcast based on our intellect and the guests and that combination. And this is just a process
we've been through. Self-belief.
It's taken time, it's taken self-belief, self-confidence. But we still think that this is a good practice to have, so you've got a good solid foundation of what you want to achieve. And then it kind of goes out the window to a degree, and we don't spend half as much time as we did at the start. It literally just a morning now, isn't it? You've done a couple of hours on it, I've done a couple. We meet together for an hour on the morning and off we go.
Yeah, that's it. A famous quote by Mike Tyson is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that can happen in the podcast world as well. You can literally get a punch in the intellect face and then you're like, oh, I need to divert.
Right, let's do it.
Let's do this.
London, here we come.
It's a London thing.
Let's go again.
We go again, my friend.
A few trips to London, haven't we, over the last
12 months.
Yeah. So we're currently listening to an episode of our own podcast.
Because we're narcissists.
Because we love ourselves. Because actually, you turn the radio on and you just never find that anything is as good as your own voice. It's a bit of a problem, so we have to just listen to us all the time. I'm kidding. We actually genuinely listen back because it's very, very rare we get to listen to what we've done, because we're putting 2 episodes out a week, plus we're building a brand around the podcast. It's just go, go, go. You're constantly prepping the next interview. You're constantly trying to build the business. So actually listening to what the listener hears in an environment they hear it, i.e. in the car, on the road, is something that's rare to come by for us, and I think it's good feedback to hear it like they're gonna. So
it's like
when we do these long...
when you got video analysis after a game, you watch back what you did and what you potentially could be doing wrong or what you learned from it. So it's really important sometimes just to have a little listen back to what we're putting out there, and it's like, oh, I sounded a bit monotone. That were a big one for me. I sound really flat, my energy's low, and I didn't feel like I was at the time, but I just know that I need to turn my frequency up a little bit and just give a little bit more enthusiasm than I normally would, because I just know that how it sounds, it just sounds shit, and it's very, people could switch off quite easily, and I understand that now. So that's why it's important. Yeah.
Sorry, were you talking? Sorry. Good, sorry, I just had a quick snooze. Sorry, man. What were you saying? Guy who puts mono in monotone is Dan Ranston. And but like us taking it well, like being self-aware enough to go, if you listen to our podcast, you might find like I'm a little bit camp, I talk a little bit fun, like whatever, and like just actually making fun of ourselves. And then what that does to an audience, it takes away any of their negative judgments of you and goes, oh, fair enough, we're all different. They're aware of their strengths and weaknesses. Fair play. It gives them a bit like a level of respect then, doesn't it?
You can diss me on there, don't you?
You can diss me right back.
I will.
Ladies and gentlemen, I also want to say we are on the road with... This is pretty complicated because we've got 3 cameras going. This is the kind of thing you have to do when you're a content creator. Content creator.
I thought you said something else.
I am something else as well, but that's another story. So we are doing a bit of vlogging. We're creating content. We're off to London to see the Doctor's Kitchen, Mr. Dr Rupy. We're really excited to speak to him about how nutrition can help prevent and cure Disease. So, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to give a big shout out to Mr. Stuart Reardon, who is our videographer of the day. Guys, check out Stuart Reardon Productions. Is that the one?
Yeah. Very talented man. Very, very talented man.
If you want a photographer,
very beautiful man as well.
Editor,
he belongs at both ends
beautiful
of the camera.
man to be in your car. Check him out and get him booked. Book that man. Book that man. Book that man.
Honestly, I don't know who the fuck to trust. Is he my friend or my foe? I'm off the exit, bro. Yeah, she give me that claim as well. I remember back when I was younger, I was happy. Nowadays feel like no one understand me. I'm good at artists, silly on Bob, baby. Baby's yellow, text. She wanna eat me like candy. Run up the racks, track me. I'll run up the racks like an athlete. Big facts, you're the dick, 6 flags. Ballin' like, think, told her I love her. I ain't really mean that, yeah.
The idea for creating our podcast, Rich in Success, came from a passion place. Dan and I were both really passionate about helping understand more about health, well-being and mindset. It came from a family connection initially, especially for Dan, when he lost his mum, which was my auntie. She kind of passed away with loads of questions unanswered as to how it happened, why it happened, and why it happened so quickly. So that massively started the journey for Dan, learning more about nutrition, lifestyle, health. And because we trained together in the gym, it was a conversation we were having daily, and we suddenly said, well, we need to put ourselves around people that have these answers, but more than just selfishly learning, we want to help impact others. So I think whenever you're starting a podcast, it's important to do something that you're kind of talking about, interested in, passionate about anyway, because that's going to be the thing that fuels you to keep moving forward and keep putting out content.
There's going to be days where your listeners may go down and things like that. We had a really successful launch period where we had lots of exposure with television, news, radio interviews and things like that. We absolutely promoted the hell out of it, took herself off to a spa just so that we could specifically work on promoting the podcast. So we had a lot of interest and a huge spike in downloads when we first started. But then as those numbers do dwindle slightly because the hype's gone, all you're left is your core values and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. So they have to be strong enough to keep you motivated to keep going. You have to be having the conversations that you would be having on your podcast just naturally out of pure intrigue and interest and passion for what you do. I think that's the most fundamental thing. If you are going to start a podcast, do it from the heart, do it with something that you would be doing anyway, regardless of the exposure, potential finances, monetizing it and all that sort of thing.
So the advice that I would give to anybody out there that wants to start their own podcast is just start creating content. It doesn't mean you have to put it out straight away, but just start honing your craft. Start getting a vibe and a feel for how you work the content. If you've got guests on the show, can you even present? Can you even chat with a guest and get the right information that you want to get out of them? Just start doing it. For us, we went and actually got some podcast coaching from a really successful guy, Mr. James Burt, shout out to you, who was already running a really successful podcast, had been doing it for 2 years, and we got a real good strategy in place that was about focusing on the launch period and the 2 weeks prior to launching. So we started really strong, but we only did that after over a year, nearly 18 months worth of making content, making mistakes, and just finding out if this is even something we wanted to do. And that gave us two things. Number one, we knew that we could do it and we liked it. And number two, we already had a good backlog of content, so we wasn't starting putting content out and then going, oh my god, we need more content for week 2. We already had a backlog. So that would be my advice. Just start, get a feel for it, and then take it from there. Potentially, if you are really passionate and think you've got something special, you might want to get coached by somebody that's already done it. So give us a call, we'll show you how it's done.
And also what gave us a lot of confidence going forward was, you know, you're very unsure about what you do. You get the self-saboteur kicking in and you know, thinking, oh, am I doing the right thing? Is this good enough? Are people going to like it? You don't want to be demotivated by something that you've put a lot of time and effort into. So when we did reach out to our coach, James Burt, he had an enormous amount of belief in what we were doing, and he said, I am genuinely a fan of this show already. He said, and we had some content available for him to have a look into as well. And he's like, everything about this show I really like. So that's the key about having the backlog, so that you can share it with somebody who you do look up to in high regard, because they're already doing well in what they do. And they were giving podcast coaching. So when you've got that belief from somebody else, then that obviously helps your self-esteem going forward. I think that's something that's really important. You want to go into something with the right amount of confidence, and that is something that I've really struggled with personally. Not being able to get my words out just like that, stopping and starting not having true belief and true confidence in my own voice. It's something that I've had to build up repeatedly, time after time after time, that if you are going out there to the masses and you want to communicate with them, you've got to get good at that. So just keep honing your craft, keep practicing, keep talking, keep listening back, keep observing, get feedback. Don't throw your teddy out of the cot if somebody gives you criticism, because this guy gives me it almost daily, and he doesn't do it because he's an arsehole, he does it because he wants me to get better, and I do the same to him. So that's the thing, it's listen to the constructive criticism, you know, take it that this is only going to improve me, and then move forward.
Press 3, then press 4, the number 9, press 5. Please press the key on which the next character of your number plate resides. For T, press 1. For U, press 2. For V, press 3.
Are we done?
Please press the key on which the next character 3.
Parking in London is quite a pleasant experience.
Please press the key on which the next
It's nice and
character
quick,
of your
easy.
number plate resides. You will
Take 24. Are you okay to do bits of Instagram story and stuff and just tag me, Dan, and Rupy in everything you post and just post it live?
Sure.
We're all about being transparent in the moment, real time.
Good.
Hi, I'm Matt. This is Dan. This is Stu.
Right. Oh, sorry. Alright, you gotta get yourself. Wow, you got a lot of stuff with you, haven't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I would have hated
me,
Stuart.
Stuart.
You're right.
Stuart.
Come through.
How you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Where's this come from? Bradford.
Just round corner, yeah?
Oh, no way. Thank you so much for this.
Let's do it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rich in Success podcast. We are literally in the doctor's kitchen.
We certainly are.
When we knew we were coming to meet you, we didn't know we'd actually be in the kitchen. Ladies and gentlemen, we are thrilled to be with Dr. Rupy. Rupy, thanks for having us.
Oh, mate, thank you for coming down all the way from Bradford.
Oh, we do a real hustle.
Yeah, it's a proper hustle.
The hustle is real.
It was an
Yeah,
early
it
start,
is.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, honestly, it's a pleasure. We appreciate you finding time. You've got another podcast straight after us as well,
I do,
so
yeah.
we get it. So we're going to talk really fast on this one. So bear with us. If you can't understand anything we say, just rewind it. And actually, there is a setting where you can do it slow, can't
Half,
you?
yeah,
Right, let's
yeah,
just talk
half
really quick.
speed,
That's
yeah.
cool. We're good.
Rupy, first
Yeah.
question. Exercise
Okay.
or nutrition?
Uh-huh.
Which is most important? Which is most valuable?
I'm going to be really boring and say it really depends on the person.
There we go.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to start off with that. So it really depends on where an individual is at in terms of their health journey, what they're most passionate about, and what the easiest mechanism or pathway for that person is to attain a healthier lifestyle. So if for a patient I might be chatting to in clinic or in A&E or whatever, and they want to start something, and they actually come up with the idea of like, you know what, I've been thinking about doing some exercise. I really like, Joe Wicks or whoever online. And that's the answer. That's the right one for them. Other people might be like, I really need to clean up my diet. I'm eating loads of junk and crap. All right, that's the best way for them as well. So it really depends on the individual.
Yeah.
But there are huge benefits of both. Huge.
Go in and move in a car, get to King's London, physically pushing the car. Yeah, why don't you shall we? Let's do it.
wanna know who the fuck to trust. Is he my friend or my foe? I'm off the exit, draw. Yeah, she give me that claim as well. I remember back when I was younger, I was happy. Nowadays feel like no one understand me. I'm good at artists, silly on block, Bambi. Baby's yellow, text. She wanna give me like...
My advice for anybody that wants to market a podcast is, at the core, you need to know exactly what your ethos is. This can take a little bit of time figuring it out, so know exactly what your beliefs are, what your ethos is, which guests, if you're having guests on, you want to get on that are aligned to your ethos, and know it inside out. It's something that a lot of people don't think about in great detail. They just follow a passion project, and that's a good starting place. But when you're getting ready to actually launch and put it out there, your ethos should bleed through everything you put out, every bit of content. So your logo, the colours you use, your photos, the way that you want to put stuff out should scream your ethos in people's face. Now, if you don't know exactly what that ethos is, you're not going to be able to do that. So think about the sort of beliefs, the core values, basically the things that you stand for or your brand stands for, and then start getting in touch with logo companies, then start creating the professional polished content, all that kind of thing. People get that wrong. People just start doing things that they're passionate about, and it can get a bit of a blurry ethos. Be strong in who you are, what your brand stands for, and then go out there, get that stuff right, and that's when you can start monetizing. That's when you can start sponsored ads, because you know whoever gets in touch with you, you know exactly what you're about, and you can do that confidently.
So there has to be questions upon questions. Matt and I took a full day, and it felt very unproductive at the time, but it was the most productive. It took us a full day to figure out our true ethos behind what we were doing. You've got to chunk down and ask questions upon questions. How do you want to make people feel when they're consuming your content? Well, I want them to feel happy. Well, how am I going to make them feel happy? What are we doing? For an example, so there's got to be emotional triggers, and you've got to know behind it why you're doing what you're doing in everything that you're doing. Again, then when you understand that, you can stand behind that ethos, and nothing can come past you, because you know it inside out, and you feel very confident about what you stand for and what you're doing. So just to reiterate Matt's point again, really know your true values, understand what you're posting, why you're posting it, the method behind the madness, as they say. You've got to know it inside and out, so that then if anybody comes with any constructive feedback or any negativity, we've had that as well, an enormous amount of negativity just before Christmas when we announced our interview with Katie Hopkins. Now, because we know our ethos and we understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, all the negative feedback that we received, don't get me wrong, we did take it, we did listen to it, but it didn't upset us or derail us and demotivate us, because we know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So ultimately, when you do know that and you are faced with adversity, you know that you can just brush it off and continue going.
When it comes to equipment, I think the beauty of podcasting is you don't have to put stuff out with absolutely perfect audio. I think what's more important is just starting to get content. So many people will not start because they think, oh, it has to be perfect and I don't know what equipment to buy. Dan and I had no idea about audio equipment or video equipment, and we just used what we had. Now, we actually ended up doing a bonus episode of the podcast when we were out in south of France. We just met somebody out there who was amazing, and we decided this would be great content. We actually recorded that episode on our iPhone, just using voice recorder, and we just put it on a table. There was 3 of us speaking, and it's absolutely perfect. You can hear a bit of the background noise, but everything is clear enough to hear the message and to hear the conversation. So what I would say is, yes, you want to get good equipment, but it's not essential to do a podcast. You're not working on radio or top-end television. It's more important that you get the message out there by whatever means. So, you know, phones are great. Usually, if you've got a decent phone, you can have decent video and you can have decent audio recording facilities. So that can be a good enough start. And then once you've started, if it's a bit of a success and you want to start to grow the quality as you grow your audience, that's when you can start looking into the equipment a little bit more and upgrading. So don't stress about it. I think that's the thing with most of it. Just do it, play with it, learn, and then adjust and adapt as you grow.
With regards to monetising a podcast, I think initially you need to get those thoughts out of your mind, because that's not going to happen for a very long time. You have to have tens of thousands of downloads every single week, and that takes time to build up that trust and that captivating content with your audience. So be in it for the long game if you're thinking about monetising specifically with a podcast. Unless you land an absolutely sensational episode that's going to absolutely change people's, it's going to be groundbreaking, generally speaking, that's not the case. So initially you can start monetising by the exposure of what the podcast is, and the listeners that are tuning in will build up a relationship and what your services are. So for example, behind the scenes, as people know, I'm a personal trainer and a health and wellbeing coach. So if they like my message and they like my content, that then will steer them in alignment with me, so that they want to work with me in the future. They can get in touch via Facebook and our social media platforms. They can join our accountability group that we have now that's a paid service. So then that's how you can start to monetize from there. But initially, from actually monetising from a podcast, that will happen for a very long time.
So I think you've got to get it out of your head that you're going into a podcast to make money. I see podcasts as needing to be kind of just like having your Facebook page. They're just an extension of what you do, what you offer, give your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings. And it's another way of building a rapport with an audience. Once you've got that, if you create that, then that's something you can move your audience into sales of products if you've got it to offer. But I think you've got to get it out of your head that you're doing this solely to make money. Do it because it's something you want to do, because it adds to who you are, and if it's good enough, then people want to surround themselves with you and be more involved with what you have to offer and what you have to say to the world. If you've got that kind of mindset, by default the chances of making money are going to be a lot stronger. So the money usually will come from the products and services you advertise via the podcast. Too many people look at stats like Joe Rogan and go, Joe Rogan gets £70,000 an episode on his podcast. That's really, really rare, and that is highly unlikely. The majority of people doing a podcast will get that from advertisements and sponsorship. So just know what you're going into it for, and be aware that that's the realities of podcasting.
Ballin' like Dinky, told her I love her, I ain't really mean that, yeah. Now that these people are funny, remember way back she was love. These bitches nigga can't cover. I got 4 hoes that went top. I remember I was selling dog food, no kibbles, just to get me some skrilla. Remember I was really on the block like Tetris, just to get me some chip. Surfing, rockin' the parking lot, my weed louder than like the gay bubble. I be on her mind like non-stop, yeah. Had to cut the little thought, no time. Remember smoking blunts with my friends.
Guys, thank you so much for watching this Rich in Success video. Please do make sure you are following us on all social media platforms. We are at Rich in Success on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. And do make sure you subscribe, rate, review and download our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Castbox and most other podcasting platforms. As always, we appreciate your support. Thank you so much. See you soon.